Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening and welcome to God's Plan Your Part, a podcast where our goal is to read the entire Bible in a year, seeking to understand God's plan of redemption while discovering daily and practically your part in it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to God's Plan Your Part. My name is Ryan. I'm here today with Jenny.
Hello.
Today we're taking a little bit of a weird U-turn, it might seem like. This is a chronological reading. So we are going to start in Job chapter 1. We're reading Job 1 to Job 5 today. The reason for that is that Job is one of the oldest books of the Bible that exists. And if Job was a real person, Job would have been a contemporary, somebody who lived at the same time as Abraham. So what that means is if the story of Job was common knowledge, that means Abraham most likely could have known about who Job was, and Job could have known about who Abraham was. That's why we're reading Job today. So we're jumping into Job. It's kind of weird. What do you think about this nonsense, Jenny?
As I was reading this, it's definitely a lot for one person to handle.
Oh my goodness, yes.
So it kind of just smacks me in the face because as a parent, so we have our own 4 kiddos, and just thinking about all of the things that Job has to go through and experience, all the while not even like thinking twice, like, okay, I'm going to back away from God. I'm going to turn away from him, whatever. But something that you and I have talked about already is like, okay, well, this is a crazy situation, but is Job even a real guy?
I was going to try not to talk about that, actually.
I know, but it's interesting if you
So,
think about it.
Job is an interesting situation. Basically, if you don't know much about it, here's what's going to happen with Job. God and Satan are like up in this cosmic courtroom, and God's basically like, hey, there's a righteous guy, his name's Job, and you could take whatever you want away from him, and he will never stop serving me. And so Satan basically like takes the bet and goes down and tortures Job through various different things. And the moral of the story is basically, even though Job lost everything, he never cursed God, and God rewards him by giving him an even bigger, better family. The thing that I don't love about that is I think it's a little bit weird. Like, I don't think God actually treats us that way. Like, I don't think that we're like pawns in his game to prove that he's bigger than Satan.
Yeah.
I think he already knows that. And I don't love that the moral of the story is like, it's too bad you lost your whole family, but that's fine. God will give you a bigger, better one.
Yeah, right.
Because like my kids are my kids, and even if I have 4 new kids, I'm definitely still going to miss the old 4 kids like crazy. So I see this kind of like I would see a parable in that it's not necessarily a real thing that definitely happened. It's a really valuable story that teaches a really good concept about who God is. The concept is basically this book is written to deal with the question of if God is really good and if God is really in control, why do bad things happen? That's what we're going to learn from reading through the book of Job. What's really interesting is that is a question that many people have today, and this is one of the oldest books of the Bible, and they had that question too. So this is a question that humanity has had
For a long
forever.
time. Yeah.
And Job is going to help us look into this.
Yeah, and I think about like some of these, like some people in my actual life that have experienced just like crazy, ridiculous stuff. Like, for instance, I have a friend who was born in a different country, was adopted, came to the United States, and like was under several open heart surgeries within like the first months of her life and has continued that throughout her whole life and has hit many hurdles along the way, but like I would say that her like family and her faith is still 100% in God, and like they trust that even though she's had all of these things, they call her the overcomer. Like she continues to just press on and trust that his plan is what. Yeah.
She can have faith in that God is looking out for her and God continues to care for her,
Yeah.
even though bad things happen to her.
Right, right.
So, I think that is true of everyone. Just some people seem to have like really big stories, and some people seem to have, smaller
Mhm.
stories of
Yeah.
things that have happened. But what we'll see happen here, and we're going to be in Job for a couple of days, what we'll see happen is that these friends are going to show up and they're going to try to counsel Job. And basically, in a nutshell, what they're going to say is, hey, good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. And so, Job, there's no way this happened to you, and you're a righteous
Right.
man. You're definitely a sinful man.
Something else is going
Job is going
on.
to say, hey, that is not the case. I know I'm a righteous man. I just need to continue to trust God.
Mhm.
And at the end of the book, God is going to answer all this for us. So you got to kind of put your time in. You got to like allow yourself to be part of the story, hear from each of the friends. But really, the big moment of Job is when God finally speaks and deals with these things. So, yeah,
I think
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, kind of like a your part takeaway from this.
Yeah, why does
today.
any of this matter for us?
We were kind of discussing earlier that it seems like regardless of what you're going through, the good or the bad or the really, really bad, it's okay to wonder why God chose this as his plan. It's okay to like feel those emotions of like distress or like, God, what is going on? Why is this happening? Because that's
It's
like
a natural question.
feeling.
Yeah.
So I guess just for today, as you think about that, if there is something that you are going through or someone else is going through, it's okay to have those feelings, and it's okay to just express that to God. Like, why is this going on? Why is this happening? To just draw closer to him and perhaps find that comfort that Job also was able to find in this passage.
Yeah, I think that's great. So we are going to be on a little bit of a journey through Job. And we just remind you as we listen to the book, as you read the book with us, just remember it's okay to have questions. It's okay to have frustrations. God is ultimately looking out for us. He is taking care of us. And we don't need to allow a couple of difficult, bad things to separate us from the God who loves us and cares for us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye. Job chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. There were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. He possessed 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 female donkeys, and very many servants, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the east. His sons used to go and hold a feast in the house of each one on his day, and they would send and invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. And when the days of the feast had run their course, Job would send and consecrate them, and he would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, "It may be that my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." Thus Job did continually. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. The Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come?" Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and walking up and down on it." And the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, who fears God and turns away from evil?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "Does Job fear God for no reason? Have you not put a hedge around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your hand. Only against him do not stretch out your hand." So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Now there was a day when his sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house. And there came a messenger to Job and said, "The oxen were plowing, and the donkeys feeding beside them. And the Sabeans fell upon them and took them, and struck down the servants with the edge of the sword. And I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was yet speaking, there came another, and said, "The fire of God fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants and consumed them, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was yet speaking, there came another, and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 groups and made a raid on the camels, and took them, and struck down the servants with the edge of the sword, and I alone have escaped to tell you." While he was yet speaking, there came another and said, Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine in their oldest brother's house, and behold, a great wind came across the wilderness and struck the four corners of the house, and it fell upon the young people, and they are dead, and I alone have escaped to tell you. Then Job arose and tore his robe and shaved his head and fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this Job did not sin or charge God with wrong.
Again, there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them to present himself before the Lord. And the Lord said to Satan, From where have you come? Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down on it. And the Lord said to Satan, Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, who fears God and turns away from evil? He still holds fast his integrity, although you incited me against him to destroy him without reason. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Skin for skin, all that a man has he will give for his life. But stretch out your hand and touch his bone and his flesh, and he will curse you to your face. And the Lord said to Satan, Behold, he is in your hand, only spare his life. So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord, and struck Job with loathsome sores from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And he took a piece of broken pottery with which to scrape himself while he sat in the ashes. Then his wife said to him, Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. But he said to her, You speak as one of the foolish women would speak. Shall we receive good from God, and shall we not receive evil? In all this Job did not sin with his lips. Now when Job's 3 friends heard all of the evil that had come upon him, they came each from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. They made an appointment together to come to show him sympathy and comfort him. And when they saw him from a distance, they did not recognize him, and they raised their voices and wept, and they tore their robes and sprinkled dust on their heads toward heaven. And they sat with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his suffering was very great.
After this, Job opened his mouth and cursed the day of his birth. And Job said, Let the day perish on which I was born, and the night that it was said, A man is conceived. Let that day be darkness. May God above not seek it, nor light shine upon it. Let gloom and deep darkness claim it. Let clouds dwell upon it. Let the blackness of the day terrify it. That night, let thick darkness seize it. Let it not rejoice among the days of the year. Let it not come into the number of the months. Behold, let that night be barren. Let no joyful cry enter it. Let those curse it who curse the day, who are ready to rouse up Leviathan. Let the stars of the dawn be dark. Let it hope for light, but have none, nor see the eyelids of the morning, because it did not shut the doors of my mother's womb, nor hide the trouble from my eyes. Why did I not die at birth, come out from the womb and expire? Why did the knees receive me, or why the breast that I should nurse? For then I would have lain down and been quiet. I would have slept. Then I would have been at rest, with kings and counselors of the earth who rebuilt ruins for themselves, or with princes who had gold, who filled their houses with silver. Or why was I not as a hidden stillborn child, as infants who never see the light? There the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary are at rest. There the prisoners are at ease together. They hear not the voice of the taskmaster. The small and the great are there, and the slave is free from his master. Why is light given to him who is in misery, and life to the bitter in soul, who long for death, but it comes not, and dig for it more than for hidden treasures, who rejoice exceedingly, and are glad when they find the grave? Why is light given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? For my sighing comes instead of my bread, and my groanings are poured out like water. For the thing that I fear comes upon me, and what I dread befalls me. I am not at ease, nor am I quiet. I have no rest, but trouble comes.
Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, If one ventures a word with you, will you be impatient? Yet who can I keep from speaking? Behold, you have instructed many, and you have strengthened the weak hands. Your words have upheld him who was stumbling. You have made firm the feeble knees. But now it has come to you, and you are impatient. It touches you, and you are dismayed. Is not your fear of God your confidence, and the integrity of your ways your hope? Remember, who that was innocent ever perished, or where were the upright cut off? As I have seen those who plow iniquity and sow trouble reap the same. By the breath of God they perish, and by the blast of his anger they are consumed. The roar of the lion, the voice of the fierce lion, the teeth of the young lions are broken. The strong lion perishes for lack of prey, and the cubs of the lioness are scattered. Now a word was brought to me stealthily. My ear received the whisper of it. Amid thoughts from visions of the night, when the deep sleep falls on men, dread came upon me, and trembling, which made all my bones shake. A spirit glided past my face. The hair of my flesh stood up. It stood still, but I could not discern its appearance. A form was before my eyes. There was silence. Then I heard a voice. Can mortal man be in the right before God? Can a man be pure before his Maker? Even in his servants he puts no trust, and his angels he charges with error. How much more those who dwell in houses of clay, whose foundation is in the dust, who are crushed like the moth? Between morning and evening they are beaten to pieces. They perish forever without anyone regarding it. Is not their tent cord plucked up within them? Do they not die? And that without wisdom?
Call now. Is there anyone who will answer you? To which of the holy ones will you turn? Surely vexation kills the fool, and jealousy slays the simple. I have seen the fool taking root, but suddenly I cursed his dwelling. His children are far from safety. They are crushed in the gate, and there is no one to deliver him. The hungry eat his harvest, and he takes it even out of thorns, and the thirsty pant after his wealth. For affliction does not come from the dust, nor does trouble sprout from the ground. But man is born to trouble, as the sparks fly upward. As for me, I would seek God, and to God I would commit my cause. Who does great things and unsearchable marvelous things without number? He gives rain on the earth and sends water on the fields. He sets on high those who are lowly, and those who mourn are lifted to safety. He frustrates the devices of the crafty, so that their hands achieve no success. He catches the wise in their own craftiness, and the schemes of the wily are brought to a quick end. They meet with darkness in the daytime, and grope at noonday as in the night. But he saves the needy from the sword of their mouth, and from the hand of the mighty. So the poor have hope, and injustice shuts her mouth. Behold, blessed is the one whom God reproves. Therefore despise not the discipline of the Almighty. For he wounds, but he binds up. He shatters, but his hands heal. He will deliver you from 6 troubles. In 7 no evil shall touch you. In famine he will redeem you from death, and in war the power of the sword. You shall be hidden from the lash of the tongue, and shall not fear destruction when it comes. At destruction and famine you shall laugh, and shall not fear the beasts of the earth. For you shall be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with you. You shall know that your tent is at peace, and you shall inspect your fold and miss nothing. You shall know also that your offspring shall be many, and your descendants as the grass of the earth. You shall come into your grave in ripe old age, like a sheaf gathered up in season. Behold, this we have searched out. It is true. Hear and know it is for your good. Thanks so much for listening to God's Plan, Your Part. If anything stuck out to you, if you have any questions, or if you'd like to receive a Bible, you can email us at godsplanyourpart@gmail.com. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please consider supporting us through the link in our description. We love that you're on this journey with us, and we hope you have a great day. See you tomorrow.